Hi viewers. In the previous session, we saw about error message if the user tried to log in with the invalid username. Then we validated whether we are getting the proper error message or not. So that is the thing we saw in the previous session. We missed to see the validation for these three cross buttons, right? So these cross buttons we didn't validate yet, so in this session we will validate these things. Okay, so first we will try to inspect this thing. So first we will try to identify this cross button. So the previous session also I mentioned about the svg tag, because this is not that normal html element. Svg is different from somewhat different from the normal usual html elements. Okay, so in order to find, see, you try to find this element. Normally you can find any element, right? Like slash slash div, you can find all the div elements. Totally 15 div elements we have. Likewise, if you search for input, that also you can easily find out. For any html element you can easily find out. Okay, but when you try to search for svg, that alone you cannot able to find, because due to some, it's not, it will not come under the normal html. Okay, it's different GUI element, user interface element. Okay, so in order to find that one, I searched in Google like this. Let me show you. See, svg in Selenium, how to use export in Selenium for svg. Okay, so this is what I got. Okay, see, we need to use this one, local name. Just we need to use this function, local name equal to, normally we can use slash slash svg, right? But in this case alone we need to use this syntax, local name equal to svg. If you close this one, see here, totally 3 svg elements are there. One is the first cross, okay, second one is this cross element, okay, this one, third one is the third button. Okay, so these three cross buttons belongs to svg. Okay, so this how we need to find. Okay, now using this export we are able to find the svg, but again we have three duplicates. We need to identify the first one uniquely, right? So how we are going to find out is using, see, first you need to look at the html, how it has been indexed or order, how it, the order of the html element is. Okay, so svg, using before svg we have one input element, right? So how you uniquely we identify input? Using the id attribute. Okay, in svg also we can go with id attribute, but any other attribute we can focus on. But I don't think there will be any unique thing in svg. Everything will be mostly common. Okay, duplicate will be there, so better we can go with the above element. See, we already know input id username is a unique element. So what I can do is, before svg there will be one input element, that id will be username. Okay, that one is, because this username, in this username only we will be having the, see, in this div only we are having the both username, input username field, and also the svg, because entire thing will come under the same thing, right? Test username and this cross button will come under this div tag. Okay, in this div tag only we are having test user, and so this svg sibling, we used to call this one as sibling. Sibling means same child, I mean brother or sister kind of things. Okay, svg brother is like input. Okay, same hierarchy, we used to call it as sibling. Okay, so before, and also we need to say before sibling or after sibling. Before means preceding, after means following. Okay, here we are having input tag before svg, so we need to say preceding. Before means preceding, sibling we need to say sibling. Now the tag name is input, again we are getting 2, right? 1 of 2, that means we are having 2 input tab. So here also we are having svg, before that one we are having input. For password also the same thing, right? We are having one cross symbol, before that we are having input field. Here also we are having cross symbol, before that we are having input field. So in order to uniquely identify what we did previously for input tag, we went with the id attribute, id equal to username. So now we will get only one. That means this svg, we are going to have one svg. Before svg we will be having the input tag that will come with the id username. So that means we made sure there is going to be one svg, because we need to look at the entire XPath. If you don't have svg, then this XPath will get failed. It will return no such element exception. Okay, we'll get the exception, but in this case we will not get the exception, because there is going to be one svg. When the login button is clicked, we are going to expect one svg. Before that there will be one username. So likewise this is for the first element. Okay, let's copy this one. So in the fail scenario only we will validate these things. Okay, keep in mind. Cross button 1, let's keep it as 1. XPath, so this is the XPath for that cross button. Okay, now again for the, okay, how we are going to validate this one? We know that cross button is there, but using this web element, how we can for other things we can validate with the expected scenario. See, for error message we know this is the expected error message, and we will get from actual error message we get from the UI, and we will compare. So in the login scenario, if we click login, we know that the next screen will have the inventory.html. So that is the expected one, and we can check whether in the actual URL, while we click on the login, we will get the URL, and we will verify whether that contains inventory.html or not. So in this case, how we can verify? This is the cross button. Okay, so cross button you find and it return the element. So that means now we should say like, because already it find the element, that means the cross button is available. So we should say some condition like system.out.println cross button 1 is available, like that we need to display, right? So in order to verify or validate the presence of particular element, whether it is available or not, we should call find elements instead of find element. Okay, find element, what it will do is it will try to find the element. If it finds the element, then it will return that particular element. Okay, if not, it will throw the exception like no such element exception. I will show you after this class. Okay, but what find elements will do is, see, find elements, it will throw, it's throwing an error because the return type is list of web element. It will try to find all the web element that matches with this particular XPath. Okay, see, already you have seen in this one, and there can be duplicates. Okay, if your XPath is matching with more than one element, then it will find elements will return all the web element. Whereas if you call the find element, even though if you are having 3, see, for example div, it returns 15, right? If you call find element with this / div, it will return only the first element. It will ignore all the remaining divs. Whereas this list of web elements, find elements, it will return list of web element. That means it will return all these 15 elements. Okay, that is list of web element. Okay, so in this case, why we are going with find elements is again the same thing. It will try to find all the elements. So our condition is it should match at least with 1. That means that cross button is available. So now we can compare and we can provide the validation. Like if cross button, since it is a list, you can go for the size. List will have size. Okay, if size equal to 1, because we know that there is going to be one cross button for this test user. Okay, so size, if size equal to 1, then we know that the cross button is available, and we won't, if it is not there, then we can provide the else condition. So button 1 is available, else you can say like user cross button. Yeah, better we'll go with user cross button. Instead of cross button 1 2, we can go with user cross button. Okay, similar thing, else we know that cross button is not available. If size is not equal to 1, then we can say like cross button is not, user cross button is not available. Similar case for other two crosses. Okay, so here we are saying password cross button, and error message should be password. This one is error message button. In error message you will be having button, right? Cross button, that one. Okay, that button is not available. So here we need to change that export. Here just we need to change the password id equal to password. Okay, in this case we no need to go with the SVG, even though it is an SVG. See, if you highlight this one, you can come to know. See, H3 is the entire error. Okay, this button is, if you highlight this one, you can see highlight the button, inside the button only we are having that cross, so directly we can go with the H3 element. Previously we had that H3, right? Error message we are having that one. Yeah, so we can go with this H3. So inside that one, so the next element should be the button. So for that one we need to provide like this slash button. Immediate element you can go with one slash, you no need to go with the two slash, it will work. But if you know it's going to be the next element, you need to provide the single slash. That means the immediate next element will be button. Okay, so inside that one, that means this button itself is a cross button. Okay, so we know this one. Okay, now again error cross button size equal to 1, error message password cross. Okay, and now we are completed. Let's run. Okay, now we are testing this login scenario. Invalid scenario. See, login failed, it's correct. Actual error message is this one. So error message validation also is correct, because this is the error we are getting. User cross button is available, password cross button is available, error message cross button is available. So everything is correct now. Okay, so now I think you are able to follow the export things here for the SVG, especially for SVG. For SVG, if you want to identify, you need to go with this syntax, local name equal to SVG. Okay, just you can Google and copy paste this thing, and the remaining thing is the normal export. If you know this SVG is the immediate, again I will show you this SVG, it's present below the input element, means this input is before the SVG, means you need to go with preceding sibling. If suppose this input is after this SVG, okay, that means then you can go with following sibling. Preceding sibling, this one. If it is after the SVG, then following sibling. This is simple, because these two elements are in the same hierarchy. Okay, so using this one we are able to find this cross button is available or not. Find elements will return the list of web element. If we know this is going to the size is going to be 1, so we went with the condition comparison of 1 if equal to 1, then this is available. If not, it's not available. Okay, now we tested with the login failed scenario. Okay, if suppose for login successful, just we should not test like that, but still I just want to let you know for the login scenario, successful scenario like this. Let me show you. I will refresh this page. Okay, see, standard user, I am giving successful scenario. Okay, now we are in inventory.html. So in this screen, if I try to find those three elements, SVG, those three HTML elements will not be correct. So if you inspect here, Control F, SVG, this element will not be here, right? See, you are having 0 elements. If you try for SVG itself, it will fail, because SVG element is not there. SVG itself is not present here, because that cross special UI is not here. Okay, cross symbol is not here. So now if you try to find here in this particular screen, then our script should throw like password cross button is not available, not available. But I have written in else condition, so just what I will do is I will cut this one, user cross button, password cross button, and error message cross button. This code alone I have taken out from login failed scenario and moving to after login successful scenario. See, after login successful we will be in the inventory.html in this screen. So in this screen I am trying to find user cross button, password cross button using driver.find elements. Okay, now let's see what happens. In the previous scenario we are able to see it is available. Sorry, input still I didn't change. Let me change the input. Instead of test user, you need to go with standard user. Okay, I will close all the window. Now I will run. See, now we are in inventory.html. Okay, so now here it will try to find those three elements, cross buttons. What will happen? Here you can see, because it is not available, the size will be 0. Since it will not find those elements, right? So the size will be 0. So we are providing if condition only if it is equal to 1, we are saying cross button is available. If not, then we are providing is not available. So here you can see cross button is not available, not available, not available. I think now you would have understand this find elements concept, because if the element is not present, it will return the size as 0. Okay, here we are comparing for 1, so it will run the else part, that is not available scenario. Okay, if you want you can print the Yeah, better we will print and check what is the size of each. I'll give user cross button size is see after declaring only we need to after finding that one I'm just printing the size user cross button dot size. Likewise I will print the value for password cross button also. Likewise for error message. So error message cross button dot size and password cross button dot size. Okay, so now you can see the size 0 will get displayed. See, user button cross button size is 0, password cross button size is 0, and error message cross button size is 0. Okay, so the same case if I now move to login failed scenario, again taking out from successful scenario and pasting it in login failed scenario here, moving back to failed scenario. Okay, now if I run I will get the size of 1. Oh sorry, I didn't change the value, right? Now also since it is a login successful, it will not run this code. Login failed will not get run correct, because if condition alone will get triggered because I didn't change the standard user value. Again I will go with the test user value. Okay, now it will fail and we will get the size. Now you can see here user cross button size is 1 and user cross button is available, likewise password and error message. Okay, I think now it's more clear. If you have any doubts, please ping in the comment section, we will discuss further. Okay, just for your export scenario I will come up with some other export for this one. See, as I said, again inspect. See, this cross button we already know this is H3 button. That's only we have written here, H3 button. Okay, if you want to go with the SVG, no, I don't want to go with button, but I want to go with the SVG. So you can, as usual, you can copy this local SVG. Okay, local SVG. So in this case you can mention like you are having parent see here. Now we are going from the reverse order again, as like for the username and the password. See, we know this cross button is there and this cross button parent is button SVG. I mean this SVG parent is this button. Okay, so in the previous case for this one, these are siblings. SVG sibling is input. Okay, that's why we went with preceding sibling is input. But here in this case, this SVG parent is button. It's not in the same, I mean same hierarchy. SVG is below button. Okay, so SVG parent is button. Okay, so that's why I have given parent of button. This local SVG is there, this SVG parent is button. So now we will have only one HTML element like this. Okay, and we are directly highlighting this particular, identifying this particular cross button. Okay, so we can use this one also. If you don't want to go with H3 button, you can go with the SVG button also. Okay, for this one, this will also works. So in this session we saw about the different types of export. See, this one also will work. Okay, sizes one. We have seen about the preceding sibling. If SVG and the input is in same hierarchy and this input is before that SVG, then we can go with preceding sibling. If suppose this input is after that SVG, then we need to provide following sibling like this. Okay, that's the only difference. In this case it is before SVG, so we are providing preceding sibling, and in this case SVG parent is button. Simple. Okay, this is one scenario you have seen, and we saw the difference between find element and find elements. Okay, why we going with find elements? Already I told, like the size, we can go with the size and we can compare. If it is equal to 1 or if it is 0, then current button is not available. Okay, see, in failed scenario you can see, like, even though if we are not, this element is not present, it is returning the size of 0. If suppose, if you are going with, I'll just copy this one alone in the login successful scenario. Okay, I want to show the difference between find element and find elements. Okay. See, now I'm going with find element. Use a cross button alone. I'm trying to find. Okay, username. I don't want any other code. Just I'm trying to find the user cross button. Okay, in the login successful scenario. So in login successful, you know that login successful scenario, if we click login, we won't be getting that cross button. Okay, so login successful scenario, so that cross button will not be there, but we are trying to find that element. Okay, now see what we are getting. See here, you are getting exception, no such element exception, because it will try to find the element. Find element, what it will do is, it will try to find the element. If the element is not present, then you will get this exception, and the rest of the code, if suppose you are having some other validation here in the next line of code, the entire thing will get break and code will get exit. You need to catch this exception, then you need to handle it. So again you need to use try catch and all. Okay, in order to avoid this situation only, we are going with find elements. Find elements, in the previous run you would have seen, like, even though if the element is not present, the same thing I will copy here. Okay, now I am going with find elements. Okay, I am running again. If for find elements, what it will do is, it will try to find the element. If the element is not present, then it will not throw the exception, just it will return 0, size as 0. See here, I am not getting any exception here, but in the find element you can see, like, no such element exception is there. So if you didn't handle that if you didn't catch that exception using try catch block, then your entire code will get break and the rest of the lines of code will not get trigger. Okay, whereas in find elements you will not get that exception. This is one of the entry questions you will be asked for. What is the difference between find element and find elements? Okay, you can answer this one. Okay, find element will throw the exception, whereas the find elements will not throw the exception. The size will be 0. Apart from that, in interview they will be asking for this XPath, particularly for preceding sibling. How the same thing they will ask for. How you are having elements in the same hierarchy, but you are able to identify this input. See, this input uniquely we are able to identify, but this SVG we are not able to identify uniquely. So using preceding sibling we came up with a solution, correct? We know that SVG is there, but preceding sibling is input with a unique element, unique attribute. So this how uniquely we can identify. So preceding sibling, following sibling, and parent. So these XPath questions will be asked in the interview. Okay guys, if you have any doubts, please provide in the comment section. We will discuss. Thank you.